Mindset Podcast. I am your host, Josh Giordani. I have a special guest today, Candice. We had met actually just a few months, not even a month ago, and I had to have her on here because I think she has a story. I think she has a lot of good information about content, and I didn't even want to try to pronounce your last name.
That's okay.
So I think
people are afraid of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Officially, Carcioppolo.
Is that Italian?
It's Italian.
Okay. Yeah, mine too.
And unofficially, when I'm on stage, I just say Candice Carcioppolo because it's a little bit more approachable, easier for people to say. But we went to Italy for our honeymoon.
Did you?
And everyone was saying Carcioppolo.
I love that.
So I guess that's it.
We should definitely talk about that. So I just got married in November, and
congratulations.
Thank you. We're trying to book Italy in the next few months. Actually,
you have to do it.
I know. So, we need some recommendations. We're
I
gonna
got
do
them for you.
Yeah, Amalfi Coast is on the list. We
want
to stay there. Okay, cool.
You got to go to Capri off the Amalfi Coast.
Cool. Venice.
Oh yeah.
So we're trying to do 2 weeks total. So we should talk about that.
Yeah, we will.
Cool. Well, welcome. And you also too, we can name drop a little bit.
Yeah.
You do stuff for Ryan Serhant. So I don't know exactly the extent of all of that. So
Totally.
I'd love for you to share about.
So Ryan has a program called Sell It Like Serhant.
Mm-hmm.
And within that program, we help real estate agents across the country and beyond to build their personal brands.
Cool.
And I'm a senior brand strategist at Sell It Like Serhant.
I love that.
Yeah,
cool.
It's awesome. I get to work with the most amazing agents who are really invested in building their brands and understand that it's about more than just real estate.
100%. I didn't realize how important brand was until the last couple of years, and I've just invested heavily on brand and all that stuff. So I'd love to start talking about that. How did you meet Ryan, and how did you get involved in that?
This is crazy. I love that you asked me this question. So I tell people all the time that you have to create content because content allows you to create a reputation online. And actually, Rory Vaden, who I love to follow, he talks about your personal brand as the digitization of your reputation. And I had hired a coach because I had dried out my warm sphere and I needed to call new people. And so I hired a coach. I swiped my credit card for like the last time. It was either this has to work or I need to like admit that I'm a failure and move home with my family, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to do that. I was in my probably mid-30s at the time. And she challenged me to go live every single day. And I realize now why she challenged me to do this. But at the time, I thought that that was crazy. What would I talk about live online? And at the time it was Facebook. She's like, for the next 6 months while we work together, you're going to go live every day. I said, what am I going to talk about? She's like, you'll figure it out. But who am I talking to? She's like, you've got this. Don't you work with clients? I said, yeah. She's like, well, whatever you talk with your clients about, just talk about that online every day. And so the first time I went live, I remember 2 or 3 people were watching, and I was the person that you can imagine. Hi, I'm Candice, and today I'm going to talk to you about, right? And later, I got home and realized that one of the people who was watching was my roommate, and she actually admitted to me that she didn't actually watch. It was like playing in the background. And it wasn't watch-worthy, to be honest. And during that 6-month period that I worked with a coach, I understood that the reason she wanted me to go live is that I was going to begin to connect with other human beings, and I was going to begin to see what people enjoyed, what they liked. I was going to learn about myself as well. And so I ended up going live 137 times out of 180 days.
Wow.
And it changed my life and business forever. And what people think when I say that is that I became a millionaire like that day. And that's not what happened. But what happened was I discovered more of who I was, what my areas of expertise were, what I enjoyed talking about, and what my audience wanted to hear about. And I learned how to build a bridge between my expertise and what I know is the right next step for my audience and their perceived next step or their problem. I was able to build that bridge for them and just be used to having the conversation. So you could ask me a question at any moment. And since I was live, I had to answer the question or say, you know what, I don't know, but let me get back to you about that.
Right.
So I learned a lot, and I committed to creating content. And then during the pandemic, Clubhouse came out. Are you familiar with the app?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's an audio-only app, kind of like a radio. You join a room. And Serhant was hosting a room, and I had worked with a lot of real estate agents as my clients.
Okay.
So I thought I would hop into the Serhant room and chat with people at Serhant. And one of my friends was in the audience, and one of my friends asked a question about personal branding and how he could sell more houses using his personal brand. And I knew him, and he basically laid me up on that one. And I raised my hand and answered the question about personal branding. It's everything that I was teaching my clients at the time. And the president of Serhant Ventures slid into my DMs and said, hey, we need to talk. Because I was creating content when he went back and looked at my profiles on real estate and personal branding, on getting your message out, understanding your audience, connecting as an actual human being instead of just listed, just sold. And that was in perfect alignment with what they were looking for.
It's amazing.
And y'all, I had maybe 2,000 followers at the time. It wasn't the follower count that was impressive. It was that things matched up. What I was saying on the virtual stage in Clubhouse was exactly what he saw when he clicked over and looked at my profile. And they were like, we want you on the team. At the time, there was only 2 other brand strategists. I was the 3rd. And within a month, I was sitting next to Ryan Serhant in a penthouse in Las Vegas. And Ryan was asking me questions about social media marketing for a group of real estate agents.
It's amazing.
It doesn't even make sense.
So what's crazy is, because I want to take a step back, because the cool thing is you didn't have a massive following.
No.
Right? And so for people to start asking you questions and for that to take place with a small following and you teaching that to other people is amazing. Right? Because I think everyone has this picture in their head, and this was me, where I thought that I had to have a ton of followers related to a big brand, $1 million, whatever it is. And then until I realized when I started posting content that you can have a 6 or 7 figure business from not posting a lot, you're just connecting with the right people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's the most important thing.
When you think about brand, it's about multiple things. One is your skills and your experience. 2, skills and experience. They absolutely matter in your brand. The other thing that matters that people often don't pay attention to is perception. Mm-hmm. And if you're showing up consistently with a message that's clear, you present as an authority on that topic, then people are going to trust you. Everyone wants their problem solved, and everyone wants to go to someone who's not going to be like wishy-washy and like, maybe you could do this, or you could do that, or maybe this. Just like, hey, these are the next steps. Mm-hmm. People want that. It makes them feel comfortable. And so if you're showing up with authority, then you're going to be attractive to the right person. Obviously, you have to have the skills and experience to back that up, because
totally
you get yourself into a really sticky situation if you don't. But a lot of people are walking around with a great set of skills, amazing experience, but the perception of what they do is just non-existent online.
Right. The other thing I love too is doing lives. So I actually did one, not for the first time, but I did one, and I did it for 30 minutes total. Which
That's a long time
it's
for a live,
time.
yeah.
Because you kind of, it's weird. It's a weird feeling to do an Instagram live.
Yeah.
Because I did it on Instagram. And I was in my office, and as people were coming, I was just talking to them as if I was talking to them on the phone.
Right.
And communicating. And I was doing stuff within my flipping business. And so I was talking about things like that, and people were asking me questions. And I think I had like maybe 6 people tops at one time. But it was really hard for me to continue on for that long, because I had to continue to find things to talk about. But the great thing, and what I love about you doing it consistently, is it makes you a better communicator to your audience, and how you communicate on video and creating content. I mean, we're talking to a camera most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And you have to realize, like, you're talking to people. And once you realize that and put that past, it's easier for you to communicate, I think, on social.
Absolutely. And just knowing who's on the other side of that screen is really helpful. And I think it's something that most people forget, especially when you're a new content creator, because you've pushed record and now you're like, this is all about me. And really, it's all about connecting with the person on the other side of that screen and providing information that's going to help them with some kind of problem or sticky point in their life or business. Yeah.
Why real estate?
So my parents are in real estate, and of course I said never real estate. But what happened was I ended up connecting. I have a life coaching background. I was a life coach. Prior to that, I was a middle school history teacher. So there's a lot of things that I did before. But when I was a life coach, I had worked with a client who was a real estate agent, just by chance. And we got her from making about $50,000 a year to $100,000 a year with ease within a few months because she just didn't have the systems to get her to make her first 100,000. Well, we set her up with that, and she was like, "This is amazing. I have real estate friends who also need this, Candice." And she sent me all of her friends. And all of a sudden, I realized this is a very easily replicable system to help real estate agents get to their first 100,000. This is not rocket science, right? And this was about 6 years ago. So she literally just started hooking me up with her friends, and then, it just grew from there. And I decided, what if I changed my messaging to specifically talk to real estate agents? How would that impact my business? And it's a thing that people are afraid of because they think niching down is going to cause them to lose money. But niching down is how I got to work with Ryan Serhant. So I say niche down. It's going to benefit you in the long run. And that doesn't mean that I only ever talk about real estate in my content, because I talk about a lot of other things. I talk about being an introverted entrepreneur. I talk about things that I enjoy. I take you along my trips with me. There's a lot of other things that I speak about outside of real estate, but it has been a really strong anchor and has allowed me to connect with people in a more meaningful way across the world, because I just say, hey, I could help you as a hairstylist build your personal brand. But since I niche down to real estate, it's a more concentrated pool of people that I can have an impact on.
100%. And what's that saying? Niches are in the riches. Yeah.
Riches are in the niches.
Riches are in the niches.
Yep,
yes,
that's
exactly. And I think having a mixture, like, I feel like I've been in the real estate industry a long time. Anytime you talk about content with realtors, they're thinking, like what we were talking about, like the just sold stuff. Mm-hmm. They're thinking about having to boost posts or do sponsored ads because they think that they need to get outside people looking in at their stuff. And really, and one of the things that I love about your stuff is that you are bringing people into your life, which creates such a stickier relationship.
Yes.
So when you get clients, it's easier for you to keep them, and it's not like pulling hair, pulling teeth whenever you're trying to get them to implement something. It's easier.
Yes.
It makes the relationship easier, which is what I think is so important. And that's what I've realized with social media. And even just, I have a hard time, like I love doing the podcast stuff because you're very good at, I think, batching. Do you batch all your content?
I go back and forth. I'm like a hybrid creator. Sometimes I get in the mood where I'm just like, I can knock out 3 or 4 reels right now and batch create content. And then sometimes I don't.
Yeah. I feel like I get in my head right now because I feel like some of my stuff is very boring, but I know that I'm just going to keep doing it. And I know that I need to mix in other stuff. But I think other people are probably in the same boat where they're just like, one specific thing because they think that they don't have time or whatever. But to batch 15 videos in a week for a month's worth of content,
it's
2 hours.
Not taking that much time,
right?
Honestly,
like for most people to do it, it's like probably 2 hours.
In the beginning, I think it's going to take you longer, and it's mainly just because you're overthinking it.
Sure.
But can you get to a place where it takes you 2 hours to knock out that many pieces of content? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're sitting down with a client for the first time, like what is your like, okay, how do we structure this? What do we do?
The first thing that I want to know is what are the goals at the end of the year? Mm-hmm. What do you want to be true? And that often starts with how much income are you trying to generate? And that often also has some other types of goals. Like, for example, maybe you want to be featured in 5 publications, or you want to, partner with X amount of people on hosting events. Mm. So it's the monetary goals and it's other goals that help support your brand building, brand awareness. And so we set those goals first. That way we can say, okay, what does this mean every quarter? Because if I know that you want to be on a podcast once a month because we're developing your thought leadership, then we need to backwards plan that. So that means we need to be on 3 every quarter, right? So let's sit down and actually see what those numbers look like. And if we know that we're going to pitch this to 9 people and only a third of them are going to say yes, then we can backwards plan. How many people do we have to pitch to?
Right.
What does their audience look like? And so we strategically plan how much income you're making and what other goals you have and what that means for every quarter.
Yeah.
And then from there, we also talk about your audience. So can your audience actually sustain this goal? Because maybe you want to make, $1 million this year. If you want to make $1 million, but in the past you haven't made that much and your current audience is not primed to help you do that, how do we shift who you're in front of?
Right.
Right? So it's really thinking about how you set yourself up for success by the people you're surrounding yourself with, by how you're presenting yourself. And maybe that even means looking at your current price point if you're in real estate, or the price point of your products and services, and even asking yourself, can this current situation allow me to even get there? Because you might realize, oh my gosh, I'd have to sell X amount of products that my warehouse is not equipped to actually do.
Sure.
So what needs to change here? Because a lot of times you'd be surprised how many people don't even have a goal. They'll just say, well, as much money as I can. And sometimes that means not that much money if you don't know.
It's funny. Over time, you have to believe, like, I think that's the purpose of goals. Because, like, if you set a goal, you have to believe that you can actually achieve that goal and make that amount of money. Because if you don't think that you're worth that amount of money, you're not going to make that amount. Yeah, you're just not going to make it. So, and I've realized that, like, during my journey and over time, when you put out these massive goals and you truly don't believe that you can get there, you're not going to get there.
Yep.
But if you do, you'll get there.
Yeah.
And you just have to reverse engineer it.
My husband says too many people have internal objections. Like, you have your own objection to why it's not possible for you. And coming from the education background that I have, when I left education, I remember when I started coaching people, I would always compare my rate to how much a teacher made in a month. So if I said, hey, coaching with me costs $3,000 a month, I would feel so guilty about that, because I would be like, that's my entire paycheck. $3,000 a month would be my entire paycheck for a month, not a week, okay? A month as an educator. And so I didn't want to charge that, because I felt like I was like robbing someone. And it was probably 2 years of just internal angst and struggle, not being able to price my services appropriately because of what I had previously earned.
Interesting. I mean, I would relate that to having imposter syndrome. And I think as any business owner, I have it all the time. As like, am I being the right leader? Am I doing the right things in my business? Am I doing everything right or wrong? And I'm second guessing myself. But that's why I think having, like, I have a coach, and I truly believe in coaching. And I didn't, for the longest time, you're hesitant to take that step of, mine's $25,000 every 6 months, and I pay for it. And
the ROI is there.
Huge.
Yes.
Huge. Massive. And I will continue to be a part of the group, and I will never get out of it. And I will continue to be in more groups that I will pay a lot of money to get into, because I've found so much value in it.
Yep.
And I think one of the biggest things, and I'm sure, like, once you started your business and you're being around other people who are making a lot of money and being very successful, you'll start seeing what's possible. And you're like, okay, $3,000 in the grand scheme of things, one, you're helping these people achieve their massive goals.
Yes.
So the 3,000 is making them 10, 20, 30, or $40,000 a month. So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So it's amazing.
It's insane. I was recently at a photo shoot, and I was with this amazing photographer. Like, she just had the right energy. She was just so good, and I could tell. And I went up to her, because I didn't hire her. I was just, like, at this event where she had already been hired. I went up to her and I was like, hey, can I get your contact information? Like, I really like your style, your energy, and I'm always looking for photographers, whether it's for myself or for my clients. And so she was like, oh, yeah. And I asked just like, hey, how much is this package? And she gave me a price, and it was so low that I was like, girl, no. Wait, what? Your package is how much? I was like, that's not nearly enough. And I shouldn't say that, because I was trying to hire her, so I should have just taken the package. But I said, I want to talk to you. We need to sit down and we need to talk. And so we sat down for like 5 minutes during the event. And I was like, tell me everything, break down your packages, how much you're charging. And I've worked with photographers in LA, Vegas, New York, across the country. And I have clients everywhere. I've worked with photographers, and I know the going rate for good photography. And I knew that she was excellent. Okay. And she kind of just like, her face just dropped, and she's like, I know I'm doing it wrong because I'm exhausted. I have so many sessions and I'm like barely making it still, and she should not be barely making it with her level of expertise. And what I realized is that she doesn't see her value the value of what she's offering because she's like, I'm just snapping a photo. Well, people are paying you for your experience, your education, all of the years that it took you to get to a place where you could snap a photo and make them look amazing and bring out the right energy in them. That's what they're paying you for, not the minute or second it took to click that button, right? And so when we talked about that, she said, actually, Candice, to be honest, I've had clients turn me down because they said I probably wasn't good because my prices were too low. Like, yeah, that's a real thing. If your price is too low for the client who is used to paying premiums because they want excellent service, they're not going to think that it's worth it. So that was really an interesting phenomenon, and actually working with her to help her build out her new packages and set herself up for success, because I think if you're coming from the world of having a job, being an employee, to entrepreneurship, it can be really challenging to understand how to price yourself, and that it's not per hour anymore. It's about your skills and what you bring to the table and how you can collapse time for the person that you're working with.
100%. And I think honing in on skills too is very important. Like if there's both sides of that coin, because I'm sure you've experienced it too, where it's like someone's expensive and they're not valuable.
Oh yeah, that's gonna ruin you too.
Yeah. And you'll instantly lose credibility very quickly.
Absolutely.
And you'll never get those clients back, right?
Yes.
That would be consistent clients. Like someone like you, for example, where you have a ton of clients who could use photography, videography, all those services. And if you bring someone into your inner circle and they do a bad job and they were really expensive, they can't. They're not.
There's no longevity there.
No.
Right.
So it's great to find. I feel like those are like diamonds in the rough. Like finding someone that's affordable, that's also really good, because it could be the opposite sucks just as much.
Absolutely. That person wouldn't have a sustainable business. I always say that I want to work with clients who are going to say my name first in a room where it matters. Mm-hmm. And that's only going to happen if they see the value.
I love that. So you're traveling a lot and doing a ton of speaking engagements and talking in front of, I know we were at Malibu Farms, you were talking about speaking in front of a bunch of people.
Yep.
How scary is that?
It is scary, I'm not going to lie. I get nervous. I probably can't sleep the night before. I get nervous. But when I get on stage, for me, it's like a blackout. Mm-hmm. I don't know what happens once I'm on stage. And I do get a rush from having a microphone on and speaking in front of people. I love it. But I think that people think people on stages aren't scared. Therefore, those people who are on stage are different. And that's why people who are sitting in the seats sometimes can't see themselves up there. And I just want to be clear that a lot of speakers get nervous. A lot of speakers have fear. A lot of speakers are afraid they're going to say the wrong thing, and that's the one clip that's going to hit TikTok, right? That's all normal feelings, and I don't know anyone who's like, I'm never nervous. I work with a lot of amazing speakers, and I hear them say it all the time. It's just a human thing to be nervous. Scared. Yeah.
How many people have you, because you said you're an introvert, which is funny because I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
My wife and other people around me would say that I'm an extrovert, but in big crowds, I'm very quiet. I like to be, especially like if I'm just getting to know a group of people, I listen more than I talk. And I just like to be like the observer a little bit. And you said you're an introvert, so
I am.
I'm assuming some of these crowds, I mean, I've seen some of the videos, they're bigger crowds, they're thousands of people.
Not thousands, but hundreds.
Hundreds is still a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think that there's something about having control over the topic and what you're talking about and being on stage that makes it more comfortable. So as an introvert, I have a hard time if I walk into a happy hour, let's say, right? And I don't know anyone. That's always super awkward for me. I don't like that experience. It doesn't make me feel good. I look awkward. I do not look like the authority figure in that space. Like, it's strange for me. So a couple things that have helped me out in situations like that is to lean into some tools. One of them is just curiosity. That is the entire tool. So if you're not sure how to act or be, then just be curious in someone, because people love the opportunity to talk about themselves and share their story. So if you can just ask people questions, you can sustain a conversation that will help you to integrate into a space like that.
Totally.
Another thing that I do, and I just learned this over the last year, is wear something interesting on purpose. I wear something interesting on purpose so someone can say, oh my gosh, I love your sweater, and talk to me about something. They start the conversation, and then I can take it from there. But I don't have to awkwardly reach out to someone because they have already started to talk to me about my blazer or my shoes or whatever it is. Wear something interesting. And that, I think, is hard for introverts because they're like, well, I don't want anyone to look at me. But actually the opposite. It makes someone talk to you, and then you don't have to talk to them.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really worked.
I feel like I'm always in my same colors all the time, and I don't go out of my comfort zone because I like to be the incognito person that, like, if I go to, I'm the same way. I don't enjoy going to, I like happy hours.
With your friends.
With people that I'm close with, yes, and small circles. But when I go to other happy hours, I do feel uncomfortable. Even if I do know people, like, I will go and stick to the people who I know. Yeah. If someone comes up and approaches me, then I will have conversations. But I like to be almost incognito, to where I'm just popping in, showing face, and getting out. And sometimes it makes me feel productive doing these things. I don't know why, because it's not productive, for me at least, if I'm not talking to people who I should be talking to. But I also don't like to get, like, the attention. So, like, if I, like, with you, but I think women are different. Cause,
maybe.
Like, yeah, because, like, I don't think a guy would come up to me and be like, hey, man, really like that shirt you're wearing.
Maybe.
Like,
but if you, like, had a feather in your hat, I don't know.
I don't wear just kidding. Feather in my hat.
Another thing I do, another hack for introverts, is I gamify it.
Okay, I like that.
So I'm goal-oriented. I think you are too. And if I just give myself a goal, I might even write it in my notes on my phone, like, meet 3 cool people today, meet 3 other podcasters today. Then I'm kind of honed in on the goal, and I forget that this is awkward. So I might just start conversations, be like, oh my gosh, I have a podcast and you have a podcast too. Awesome, check. I get to check something off a list. I'm accomplishing my goal, and it feels more purposeful for me. And I know that sounds crazy to someone who's not an introvert and doesn't struggle in these types of situations. But for me, that's been super, super helpful. And then actually following up with people. I can't tell you how many people I meet, or how many of my clients meet other people and then never follow up. So you automatically stand out when you're the person that follows up. And if you just have a note in your phone, like, hey, I met Josh, he's a podcaster too, I can be like, hey, loved meeting you, and send a message, and then now we're connected.
For sure. That's why I think, like, following someone is so important, especially, like, for you and I, who are very active on social. It's then you're like, okay, we can keep up with each other's lives. We know what's going on between now and the time that we did our podcast. Yeah. Sort of. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. What you made me lose my train of thought.
It's okay.
What are some of your goals right now with the company and what you're doing?
Right now, I'm focusing on the amount of people that I'm in front of every week, and breaking it down to smaller. Because before I was like, okay, if I had 1 appearance a month, I was happy, and that's what I did last year. And now I'm thinking about both virtual stages and in-person stages, and being on at least two opportunities with people per week is my new goal for this year. So this is an opportunity for me to be in front of your audience. This counts. So thank you for helping me reach my goal. And I was on a podcast earlier this week as well. So cool, check. 2 podcasts that I'm on. So thousands of people who previously were not in my network now possibly connecting with me. And so that's what I'm focusing on. And it seems like a really small goal, but I know what happened last year when I just committed to doing 1 per month. So we're just putting a little gas on that fire and being in front of even more people and talking about the things that I care about. So I'm not chasing, I'm attracting.
I love that. And you're doing in-person events too.
I'm doing in-person events too. So next week, I'll be in Phoenix at an event hosted by NAREP, and it's called Branded. So I'll be helping them to build their personal brands in, like, a workshop style, which I love. I'm a teacher, right? So I want to stand up and actually make you do work, not just talk to you for an hour, but you actually produce something, and you kind of feel the feeling of how it feels to put yourself out there, how it feels to write a scary goal, how it feels to share that scary goal aloud with someone next to you. Like, that's what I'm doing with Branded, is teaching people how to think about branding differently.
We should, I just got goosebumps. I'm like, you know what? We should do something at my new office.
We're going to.
Let's do that. Let's put together.
Can we zoom in on that? Because that's real.
Yeah.
I love that.
Let's, no, it is real. I actually really did get
I
goosebumps.
know.
Yeah. I love the content space. It's so fun because I feel
Yeah.
like I've connected with so many different people, and it's created this amazing group of people that it's allowed a lot of doors to open up. And again, I don't have a lot of followers, but it absolutely has changed my life in terms of opportunity. Financially, I do get business from it, which is amazing. Connections and all those different things that's come from it. So I would love to do one at my office. We have enough space. We can probably fit like 100 people. Let's do it. And we can do it virtually and in person and make people get all of like my realtor relationships, yours. We can get, let's do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel like in the real estate space specifically, there's not enough hands-on how to make you do something. It's someone telling you their story, which is great. Storytelling matters, and it's impactful. But I want to get down to the nitty-gritty. I want you to actually make that post right now. Mm-hmm. And I want you to see how yesterday you got 2 likes on that just listed flyer, and today you got 57 when you posted a picture of yourself with a client, right? And I just want you to see that huge difference in the engagement when you actually do something that impacts someone on the other side of the screen. And because I know once my client feels that in the moment, they're more motivated to take the next step.
100%. I think the idea of having a company versus having a brand is so much more important. Excuse me, I said that wrong. Having a brand versus having a company, a brand is so much more important. I think companies have become irrelevant. And I think that's what a lot of like the real estate space forgets, is that when you're posting a just listed, you're posting a company. You're not posting your brand. Yeah. When you're posting something where you're talking with a client or posting a picture with your client or talking on your stories, you're creating connections, which is a bigger part for your brand to grow your business.
Totally.
So I think it's important, obviously, to show credibility with deals that you're doing and things like that. Yes. But at the same time, like that should be 5% of what you show.
I was working with one of my clients who's a lender, and she does this because her family, her family's immigrants, and her family gave her this opportunity to be in America, to have a different life. And she works closely with the Hispanic community as a lender. And she's literally making people's like dreams come true, like their first time home buyers ever in their family. And so for her, it's not just about lending. For her, it's about changing trajectories of families who maybe moved here 20 or 30 years ago so their kid would have the opportunity to one day own property. And then their kids are going to go to college, and then their kids are going to do, like, it's literally impacting families' lives. And so she could just say, closed another loan today. Or she could say, I got to work with whoever she works with, and this is why this matters. This is why this is important to me. Or so-and-so's family member got sick, but because they had invested in real estate, it didn't hurt their finances when they had to pay for this expensive treatment because they had equity in their home that actually allowed them to miss work or allowed them to do this because they were smart with these decisions, because they connected with the right people who guided them, right? That. Like that is a why that's bigger than just lending money. That's bigger than an interest rate.
There's no monetary value on that.
You can't put a monetary value on that. And now people who are in a situation where they're like, I don't even know if I could ever afford a home. No one's ever taught me what this looks like. I don't have family who has done this before, and this is actually a really scary process for me. They know that she's helped people in that situation. Right. So she is the trusted advisor for them, and she can hold their hand through all of it. It is so much bigger than just a loan.
Yeah. You were sharing when you sit down with a client and talk about their goals and stuff. I actually, one of the things that, like with content, for example, I think big picture, I think a lot of people can be looking at it from a monetary standpoint. But one of the things that helped me push through the fact of just continuing to do it for more than a year consistently was not anything monetary.
Yeah.
And I think if you're looking at it from a monetary standpoint in the beginning, it becomes harder to be consistent because it takes a long time to see actual results that are from social media.
Yep.
And I don't think you'll start to see those until a long period of time of consistently posting things and people seeing how consistent you are. So when I was reverse engineering, like I didn't even come up with goals. I was just like, you know what? I want to do this because I want to impact, because when I first started investing into real estate, well, actually, when I first got into real estate and started flipping houses, I didn't even have the money to do it. Yeah. And I was a partner in a lot of the deals. So, and I share this a lot, but the reason why I share this is because I was where a lot of people are when they're getting started in any journey that they're doing. Yep. And it's important for people to understand that you don't have to start with a monetary value. And I think it's more important to start with helping and sharing your story. And that's what I wanted to do. And the reason why I started posting was to share my story, that anything is fucking possible.
Yes.
That anyone can do what I'm doing or what you're doing. Yeah. And it is okay. Like Ryan Serhant, there can't be another Ryan Serhant, but someone else can be doing as much business as what he's doing with their own brand.
Yeah.
And it's possible.
Totally.
And so, yeah, it's interesting.
I think that I want you to have a goal for your business about how much money you want to make.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that all your business has to come from social media. The way I think about it is like, okay, so this is the goal for how much you want to make this year in your business. Cool. Social media is a tool that will help us amplify your message and connect with even more people so that this goal becomes easier. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to make all of that money from social media, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's how I think about it. It's a tool for amplification. But if you don't have anything to amplify because you don't have a message and you don't know who you're talking to, it's not going to be a helpful tool for you.
Yeah, and your why of why you're doing it.
Yeah, and your why, of course, yeah.
I love that. What? Let's talk about Italy.
Let's talk about Italy. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Are you Italian, or is that your?
No, my husband.
Okay.
My husband's Italian.
Nice.
And he had never been to Italy, so he was very excited to go. We went to Sicily for a few days. Okay. That was fun.
Cool.
We went kind of all over Italy, but my favorite place was Capri, the island off of the Amalfi Coast. It was beautiful. Just the views from there. My husband's also a sailor. He's a skipper. So we just got to see these beautiful yachts and be like, we want to sail around here one day. So it was just an incredible experience. The one thing that I wouldn't recommend is right before that, we went on a high protein diet for about 3-4 months before we went to Italy.
Okay.
And it worked out. We were, in better shape. And then we got to Italy, and you can't get protein in Italy. No, it's just all pasta. And from going from one extreme to another, we felt so bad, which our bodies literally felt exhausted and terrible. So we just decided one day that we were going to fly to Spain to go get some meat.
I love that.
In the middle of our honeymoon, we're like, this isn't working. We don't feel good.
It's bloated. And
just terrible. Because just don't go from one extreme to another.
Yeah,
Obviously, we enjoyed our experience, but we couldn't handle it physically.
I was always told, too, that the food is fairly, I'm sure doing what you did before is probably what did it. Because I heard that the food is very light, like the pastas and everything is.
It's very different than what we're used to as Italian-American food. Yeah. American-Italian food. I don't know how you say that. But it tastes very different. It's lighter. To me, less flavorful. Maybe that's because I have an American palate. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely different than what you expect. My favorite part of it is pastries and coffee. I love to go get a cappuccino in the morning, have a pastry. Wine. Yeah, wine. Yes, all of that was amazing. And we still had great food. It just was hard for us.
Yeah. How long were you there?
We were there for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of.
Do you think that was enough time?
Yeah, I was ready to come home. Here was my husband's idea. I wanted to be gone for 2 weeks maximum because work, I was stressed out about it. It was the longest time I'd ever left my team. And I was like, that's a long time. But he was like, no, this is why we have to go. Because if we leave at the end of week 2, we are going to be sad that we're leaving because we'll feel like we want some more of this. But if we leave at the end of week 3, we're going to be excited to come home. And he was exactly right. Because I think week 1, we're still trying to answer messages, trying to disconnect. Week 2 was really wonderful. Then by the time the end of week 3 came around, we're like, we're ready for our own bed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And we were planning on 2 weeks. I don't know why we keep delaying it. We just had a lot of stuff going on.
I know.
And then we were looking at flights. We're gonna be able to book it all through like travel points and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe it because she was like pricing everything out, and I was like, holy fuck, it's gonna be like crazy.
Yes.
Like just the flight alone was how much. Like
we used a lot of points. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I don't know if I can do a 12 or 16 hour, however long that flight is. I do bad going to Hawaii, and that's just 6 hours. So I know we'll have one layover, which will cut out some time. But I was like, we have to go like business class or something where I'm going to be a little bit more comfortable.
I couldn't do Delta One.
Yeah, I couldn't do economy, and everything was like, I think it was like 9,000.
Yeah.
Like round trip for each, not just like one. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then just to stay, I mean, you're spending like $1,000 a night for a hotel, and we were gonna.
And they're not like American hotels that are $1,000 a night here is one thing. $1,000 a night there.
Are we saying it's not bougie?
It's not bougie.
Oh shit! Damn. Well, that sucks. Yeah. So we were pricing everything out, and I was like, oh god. But yeah, it's all good. But I think we have to.
It doesn't matter. You're in Italy, so it'll be amazing.
Yeah, totally. We're with our whole plan was to have this trip, go on this trip because if we do have kids,
you want to do this before,
right? We're never going to be if we have kids in a year. It's like okay, like we're stuck doing our quick Mexico trips or Hawaii or something close.
Yeah.
So we know that we need to go, and I am Italian, so it's I would love to go. And
yeah,
I
you're
love
gonna
traveling.
love it. It's so good. And I love to go to Italian delis as well and get like a sandwich made with salami and olives and all of that kind of stuff. Like those are really fun for me. You're going to love it. So many cool things.
I'm actually really excited about the food.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm most excited about. I'm not I know the architecture is very beautiful, kind of old world stuff, but
you're like history and stuff, but whatever.
Yeah. I don't know if that's like
your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
It's about eating gelato every day. It's about sitting by the water.
Right.
It's just.
Yeah, we're excited. I just need to get on it and book it. Cool. Any big goals for the next few years? Like anything that you want to accomplish? Anything that like stands out to you?
My big goal is for my podcast, which is called Not Nice Clever, to be something that's not. It's good for brand amplification right now, but I want to be known as a podcaster. I want to be in the top 1% of podcasts, and I want that to be a source of income for me directly. Right now, it's an indirect source of income, right? I get clients because they listen to me. They know, like, and trust me and hire me, but I want my podcast to have enough sponsorships that it feels like it's the main thing. So it's called Not Nice Clever. We talk about branding, marketing, money, and manifesting, all my favorite topics. And it's also through the lens of being an introvert. How do you brand yourself as an introvert? Because I think sometimes introverts think that branding is only for extroverts, and it's absolutely not. And I'm a testimony to it not being true.
100%. Yeah, me too. In the show notes I'll put the link to it.
That'd be awesome.
In the description and on YouTube. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming. I appreciate you. This is kind of a quick one, but I'm excited to put some stuff together. I think we can do a really cool in-person / virtual thing.
Absolutely.
I think we'll have everything dialed by like April 1st, so we can schedule something for maybe like end of April.
Let's do it.
Or have enough lead time to where we can really push it out.
Let's go.
But cool.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And all your stuff will be in the description. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review and subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next one.